Guys, today I will be making a video on furry conventions, just talking about some of the ones that I found interesting, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you guys had a happy new year as well. So I'm going to start with Rainforest, but there's been so many videos done on Rainforest and what happened at this convention that I'm just going to really skim through it and just give really a brief recap of what Rainforest was. And Rainforest 2015, and more specifically, is the one that we're going to be looking at. This convention was typically held around late September, early October, and it was held at the Hilton SeaTac Airport. This location was prime due to being right across the street from the airport and right next to the light rail, which is a local train that runs from the downtown Seattle area to this airport. So, prime spot. But what hell happened at this con and why it was so bad was the elevators were broken because people were using their feet to kick the buttons. Hot tubs were destroyed by dumping towels into the tub and then rolling it up into the pump, causing the pump to fail. There was a toilet that was loosened, and because it was unscrewed, this caused flooding and water damage in nearby rooms. The servers that were located in the basement also got hit because of this flooding. Food was being tossed around left and right on the ground. There was drugs being sold and used at this con. This resulted in several arrests as well as overdoses. Diaper furs were allowed to roam the halls in soiled diapers, disposing their used diapers outside, tossing them wherever, or collecting huge trash bags of them, and then not putting them in said bags. Someone took pictures of two zoo sadists kissing while in a fursuit. A quote-unquote potential false rumor was spread that the furries drilled glory holes into the bathroom. Ex-staff members were committing SA, current staff members were committing physical assaults, and much more. So what happened after the fallout is that con in the event itself caused about $150,000 of damages, and it surpassed the operation cost of all other cons hosted that year combined. As a result, the Hilton that this event was held at canceled their partnership with the Rainforest. Rainforest. There were attempts made to move to different venues. This would include another location in Spokane, but this all proved to be fruitless due to the fact that an ex-board member wrote a letter to every venue within 50-mile radius and told them that they should not accept any of the Rainforest money or commission because of what would happen to the hotel afterwards. Due to this, Rainfur had to basically closed down, but they did also come out saying that, hey, there was somebody that, halted our movement, this is why we couldn't do it. But if you guys do want a more in-depth kind of look at this, there is the internet historian, did a nice couple-minute video on this. The next con that we will be talking about was Anthro Northwest. It was 2016 and 17. The reason I'm going to put this next con after Rainforest is because the people that ran Rainforest got mad because this next con took their place. The Rainforest staff were a little bitter and had some resentment coming from the fact that not only was the Anthro Northwest more successful and secure event, but they managed to get an event in the downtown Seattle area, which is very expensive. This should have been impossible due to the previous restrictions stated, but Anthro Northwest was registered as a historical celebration of anthropomorphic art rather than furry. They managed to get away with this. The tea of this con was Koji Fox, Vero Science Collie, the former notable furry podcast, Feral Attraction, got into a dispute with ANW staff before the event even took place about a policy banning fetish gear at the con. This included collars, which really got them into a tizzy. The policy against collars was ultimately reversed, but furries simply found more things to get mad about. To be fair, I'm going to blame the event organizers for partly not expecting this backlash. He tried to take a family-friendly con in a more degenerate section of the country. The vast majority of locals were spoiled by Furrest, which let them essentially run wild with their kinks. The con creator should have been prepared for this and stood his ground on making it family-friendly. But in reality, I really don't see furries as a family-friendly thing. Anyways, one such policy furries took issue with was with the staff wanting to ban suits and anything that might scare young children. Then came the conspiracy theories that because the event organizers happened to be religious, he was trying to brainwash/kink shame BDMS furries into being such godless heathens. Ironic though, when one of the furries making such claims was a furry cub who was friends with a dog graper, Cupid the deer. What actually happened when the con took place? Well, not much. Half of the people that were bitching on Twitter about this wound up going to the con, including Vero, and had pictures of this, but since Vero went DFE after numerous SA allegations. Being said, the previous drama did not impact guests attending the con. There was one thing though at this con that people were just having a field day with, and it was a ball pit. People were kind of comparing this pit to like the DashCon pit and kind of giving the event organizers some slack. Speaking of people/groups who were banned from the convention, if you were banned from previous cons, you were not attending this one, you could file an appeal with the board, but that was not going to happen. Apparently there were people banned from the con, the Anthro NW forum, and / or blocked on Twitter for being critical of the event. I don't know how much of this was true, since a lot of people's quote-unquote criticisms were them saying that they were gay or mad that they should be abstained from wearing their fursuit at the con. CNN was allowed into the con to record a documentary. You, when you checked in to the con and claimed your badge, you were able to sign a waiver that said that you opt in to the documentary. Keyword in, not out. People got these confused and assumed that CNN was going to barge in with cameras and shove them in everyone's faces. The next con is RMFC 2016. RMFC was a con that took place in Denver, Colorado, up until 2016 due to the event that just happened that year and months following. The LDR Furry Raiders booked a crap ton of rooms and didn't use most of them. Got the entire fandom to spurg out on them through death threats. Del Test Devil made threats saying something along the lines of, "Lol, can't wait to punch Nazis." To which someone pointed out that Colorado is a concealed carry state. She lost her mind and claimed that she was being threatened as well. Apparently, the con didn't take action against either side for this, as well as Dero went on to cry about how the Furry Raiders were still permitted to attend the con, saying threats from both parties had an unintended consequence for raising the cost of security to an amount that overwhelmed the cost of hosting the con, which was $22,000 USD. As a result, it was permanently shut down. It was likely that the venue which was hosting it spread the word to other con spaces in order to prevent booking as well. Dio and Dogpatch dug into some other shady stuff that the con was doing and wrote articles about it, Dio got sent a C&D from an ex-con staffer who was convicted of sexual acts with a minor back in 1993. Our next con is Capital City Furcon 2020, or CCFC. This con is notorious for having the same levels as Dash Con's poor planning, but with a mix of fraud. This con took place in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This was one of the only cons in 2020 that was not canceled due to COVID-19. CCFC's founder was Matthew Schultz, commonly known as Nitro. Nitro had the ambitions of opening CCFC as his own personal event. He wanted to become Furry famous because he wanted his name tied to an event, like how Anthro is associated with Uncle Cage, and for affinity with Dragoneer. What happened leading up to this event was it was very understaffed. Nitro could not find enough people in the area to actually come and be staff or volunteers at this event. Of reading this, I believe that the event only had 15 staff members and volunteers in total. But the biggest problem of this event, the money situation. There was problems with Nitro being able to fund this whole con. The hotel had a clause in their contract that Nitro signed that there would be prepayments made. Well, there was no prepayments made by Nitro. Being faced with being kicked out of the hotel, Nitro went to a staff member, Trip. Trip was a college student at the time, and Nitro said to Trip to give his tuition money to cover the hotel. Well, Trip's bank and parents refused to let him use this money. Well, Nitro tried and tried to get Trip to go over his parents' head and use the money. Some rumors that incorrectly stated that Trip did give Nitro $15,000, but this was clarified that Trip offered money, but Nitro never took the money. Nitro then, still being faced with getting his con prematurely axed, he went to his friend Shadow. Shadow was told by Nitro that someone needed to put their credit card on the hotel as a safety measure for any damages or anything like that. Nitro gave the flimsy excuse of that his credit card was denied and he totally had the money, but the bank froze it temporarily because of CCFC. Well, Shadow agreed to put his credit card down and the event was allowed to continue. Shadow was under the assumption that his credit card wouldn't be charged with anything. It was just a security hold. Well, this was not true. The real drama did not ramp up until the closing ceremony on Sunday. I should state that CCFC was a 4-day event. Nitro claimed that they have raised about $4,000 for charity, though a friend of his later confirmed it was about $4,600. Then immediately announced that he was stepping down as chairman and the new chairman would be a random DJ. Nitro had promised all the guests of honor that they would have their hotel bill paid for, only for all of them to find out upon checkout that they were now stuck paying the entire bill. The staff who promised to have their badge and rooms comped found out later that was not the case. Shadow, Nitro's friend, who put the credit card down on the hotel, was suddenly hit with a bill for $12,000. One of the guests of honor was a deaf fursuiter who was never provided an interpreter, which blatantly violates the Americans with Disability Act. And Nero could face serious legal trouble if they filed for disability discrimination. People who pre-registered for the event but were unable to make it were denied refunds. And on top of this all, ALS Association, the charity that CFC was giving to, never received the money that was raised. I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this. I just want to get kind of a video out, a nice short one for the new year, so Nothing too much, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.